Hello viewers, yes, Ranjana ma'am is back again, and number of you have asked me for the homecoming. You all have it in your exams, you all need it so much. So here I am. Yes, don't forget to press the like button and please subscribe to my channel. So the homecoming is actually a very touching story and written by who other than the Nobel Prize winner Rabindranath Tagore. Actually this was written in Bengali and this is a translation which you are reading. So the story is about a young boy. And a young boy, he doesn't have his father is dead. So the widowed mother finds it very difficult to manage him. He's a 14-year-old boy full of mischief, full of life. He's the ringleader of the village lads. And naturally mother finds it difficult to control him. And the two brothers, the way they fight, and she naturally takes part of the younger one. She feels that this Fatik, he is the main protagonist of this story. Fatik might one day kill my Makhan. Makhan is the younger one. Makhan is not a blameless guy. He is also very naughty rather, but not in the sense to trouble his mother. So he doesn't rather agree to the dictatorship of his brother. His brother is the ringleader, but he defies the orders of the brother, and he goes and complains to his mother also wrongly. And since the mother gets complaint from everyone, so she trusts the younger one more than the elder one, and this makes Fatik very indignant. And in the meantime what happens? His uncle comes, mother's brother, mama, uncle comes, and when he sees how distressed his sister is, so he offers to take Fatik along with him to Calcutta or Kolkata as we pronounce it now. But he doesn't realize that he is not welcome in his home. His wife doesn't accept Fatik. She has 3 sons of her own, and they are enough nuisance, and to take us extra burden, naturally she is very angry and she insults him at the smallest opportunity. The cousins also, they don't like him, they make fun of him, they distance from him in school. They are ashamed to say that he's our cousin, and since he cannot cope up with the studies, he gets beaten up by the schoolmaster also, and then he longs for his village. But when his uncle had offered to take him to Kolkata, he had very readily accepted the offer, which had hurt his mother, that he had immediately accepted the offer. But later when he faces these unfavorable situations in his uncle's house, he wants to go back. He longs to go back to his home. And finally, when he's beaten and he tries to run away from his uncle's house, because he has been told that he will be going home during the pujas, when the puja holidays start. But when he goes out, and then he gets drenched in the rain, and the police finally bring him back, and then he is running high temperature. And the aunt is naturally very angry. So he tries to tell his aunt that is why he was leaving the house and going, but the police did not allow him. And so he asks his uncle in his delirious state if the pujas have come, and then he looks for someone. So the uncle understands he's looking for his mother, he's searching for his mother. When the mother gets the news, his uncle has already sent for the mother, and so when the mother gets the news, she comes immediately. She rushes to this place, but it is quite late. So after seeing his mother, he tells that the holidays have come. That means as if he is going home, and he dies. It's a very sad story. So This is the story of Fatik, but at the same time, Tagore has used, or rather, he has deliberately put in the reference of young children who crave for love at the stage when they are no longer a child and no longer an adult. So they crave for love, but they many times they don't get the love or the support which they expect from their parents. So they are considered a nuisance. So Fatik is symbolic of all those children who are not treated properly at this age. They need more understanding, more love. They are undergoing a change physically and mentally. So they should be understood sympathetically by the parents. This is what Tagore is trying to tell through this story. So let's start it. So as I always say, let's read the box first. So the second paragraph, in the homecoming, we have the universal theme of adolescence. That is the period before you are adult and after you are, when you are no longer a kid, you are teens. 13, 14, 15, 16, the teens. Neglect, responsibility, love and isolation. So these are the different themes. The story is narrated in the third person by an unnamed narrator. So we don't know who's telling the story. And the story's main protagonist is Fatik Chakravarti. It is the story of Fatik Chakravarti, whose boyish mischief leads to his being sent away to Kolkata to live with his uncle. Tagore pierces the heart of the reader with his depiction of homesickness, rejection and isolation. So once he goes to Kolkata and then he feels homesick, he wants to return. And rejection, uncle's family rejects him. And isolation, he feels isolated. He feels he is alone in this city. Even his uncle also doesn't support him. Uncle had very voluntarily taken him, brought him to Kolkata, but after that, due to the pressure maybe from his wife, or he's not, he doesn't have the guts to show his love for him. So he maintains a distance, isolation. The boy's longing to return to the wide open spaces of his village home is metaphorically granted in the poignant closing lines of the story. Both the title and the last line echo this longing to get back to his roots, get back to his home. The homecoming. Fatik Chakravarti was a ringleader among the boys of the village. So yes, the young boys, and he is the head. A new mischief got into his head. So he always, mischiefs are cropping up from his head, so now a new mischief has come. There was a heavy log lying on the mud flat of the river, waiting to be shaped into a mast for a boat. So a log of wood lying at the mud flat, so close to the shore of the river, there is a big log of wood. And why is it kept there? To be shaped as a mast for a boat. So that log would be cut in and then a mast of a boat would be made. He decided that they should all work together to shift the log by main force from its place and roll it away. Naughty idea. Let's all give all our strength and roll this log of wood away from here. So when the owner of the log would come, naturally he would not find it and he would get angry. So their job is to make people angry. The owner of the log would be angry and surprised, where has my log of wood gone? And they would all enjoy the fun. Yeah, troubling people they got fun by troubling people. Everyone seconded the proposal and it was carried unanimously. So he's the ringleader, he proposes. No one would defy him, so they second it and everyone accepts it unanimously, no opposition coming from his team. But just see what happens. But just as the fun was about to begin, their rolling of the log, what happens? Fatik's younger brother, Makhan. Fatik's younger brother sauntered up and sat down on the log in front of them without a word. Makhan comes and he sits on that very log without a word. He doesn't speak anything, but he goes and sits on the log. So now how will they roll the log? The boys were puzzled for a moment. He was pushed rather timidly by one of the boys and told to get up, but he remained quite unconcerned. So one of the boys, they say, "Hey Makhan, move. We are going to roll it, so you please move." And timidly, after all, he is the ringleader's brother. But he seems not to be affected. He appeared like a young philosopher meditating on the futility of games. So how does he appear? Oh, he's a philosopher. Oh, these children, they are playing games. It's useless. But he is younger than them, but the way he behaves. Phatik was furious. Yes, he is the ringleader. He is proposed and his own brother has come and he's creating a nuisance. "Makhan," he cried, "if you don't get down this minute, I'll thrash you. I'll beat you up. You get down from that log." Makhan only moved to a more comfortable position. So did he listen? No. Rather, he moved to a better position to stop them from rolling the log. Now, if Phatik was to keep his regal dignity before the public, it was clear he ought to carry out his threat. Phatik knows that if I beat Makhan, he will go and complain to mother and I will get a beating. But in order to maintain my dignity in front of these people, I have to carry out my word. If I am the ringleader, and it will be an insult to me if I don't keep my word of thrashing him if he doesn't move. But his courage failed him at the crisis. He told his brother, "If you don't get down, I'll thrash you." But now his courage fails. Why? He knows Makhan is mother's favorite and he will go and complain. His fertile brain, however, rapidly seized up a new maneuver which would discomfit his brother and afford his followers an added amusement. So he thinks the best thing would be, let me change the plan a little. No moving Makhan, let him sit there and with him there we will roll the log of wood. So it will make Makhan discomfort, it will give a discomfiture to Makhan and the others will enjoy the fun. He doesn't dare to thrash. He gave the word of command to roll the log and Makhan over together. He says, "Now let's roll the log with Makhan sitting there only." Makhan heard the order and made it a point of honor to stick on. Makhan also hears that they want to roll the log along with me, but now it is his prestige also. It's a matter of prestige for him also. So what does he do? I'll stick to it. Let me see what he does. So Makhan also equally adamant. But he overlooked the fact, like those who attempt earthly fame in other matters, that there was peril in it. So he overlooked the fact that there was danger in it. What? If they roll the log along with Makhan, Makhan will fall to the ground and he will be hurt. He overlooks this fact. The boys began to heave at the log with all their might. Hi-yo, so something like that. They tried to push the log with all their strength, calling out, 1, 2, 3, go. At the word go, the log went and with it went Makhan's philosophy, glory and all. So Makhan, his philosophy that games are futile and his glory of disobeying the ringleader of the village boys, and everything crushed to the ground. All the other boys shouted themselves hoarse with delight. So everyone was very amused, only with the exception of Phatik. Why? But Phatik was a little frightened. Why? He knew what was coming. He knows Makhan is going to go and complain to mother and I'll get a thrashing at home. And sure enough, Makhan rose from Mother Earth, blind as fate and screaming like the fury. So he gets up from his undignified condition and then how does he shout? From Mother Earth, blind as fate. So there is a simile. And screaming like the furies. So fury is being personified here. Okay, so how is he screaming? He is very angry and he screams like as a fury, and Mother Earth blind as fate. So he gets up from the ground. Mother Earth means from the ground. Blind as fate. Why? His fate. Why? Because his eyes are covered with tears and he cannot see anything. He rushed at Phatik and scratched his face and bit and kicked him. So he does all these things. First he scratches the face of his elder brother, beats him up, kicks him, and then he goes home crying to complain to his mother, and then went crying home. The first act of the drama was over. So the curtains fall on the first act. Now he knows that I am going to get beaten up. Phatik wiped his face and sat down on the edge of a sunken barge on the river bank and began to chew a piece of grass. So Phatik knows it's dangerous to go immediately home. A boat came up to the landing. A middle-aged man with grey hair and dark moustache stepped on shore. So in those days, water transport. So someone comes by boat, and then middle-aged man with grey hair and dark moustache. So he gets to the shore. He saw the boy sitting there doing nothing and asked him where the Chakravartis lived. See, Phatik is Chakravarti. That means he is inquiring of Phatik's house only. But just see what a naughty boy Phatik is. Phatik went on chewing the grass and said, over there. But he doesn't point out any place particular. But it was quite impossible to tell where he pointed. Over there. So how will you know which place is he pointing out? The stranger asked him again. So the stranger repeats the question. He swung his legs to and fro on the side of the barge and said, go and find out. This was very rude of him to answer an elderly gentleman in this way. Then why don't you go and find out? And continue to chew the grass as before. So what would this senior person think of him? As a rude and a rascal. Rude boy, a rascal. Now see what happens. Now a servant came down from the house and told Phatik his mother wanted him. So when Makhan went and complained to his mother, mother sent a servant, go and bring Phatik here. Phatik refused to move. I am not going. But the servant was elderly. So what does he do? But the servant was the master on this occasion. Why? Because his master is Phatik's mother. His boss is Phatik's mother. So what does he do? He picks up Phatik. He took Phatik up roughly and carried him, kicking and struggling in impotent rage. Phatik is very angry, but his rage is of no use. Impotent rage. Why? Because the servant is stronger than Phatik. So he carries him home in his arms while he kicks and struggles in an angry manner. When Phatik came into the house, his mother saw him. She called out angrily, so you've been hitting Makhan again? So Makhan has gone and filled the ears of the mother. Brother has done this. So she should have asked him what has happened, but no. Since he is a naughty boy known all over the village for his mischief, so she assumes Phatik only has done something wrong. And rather, Phatik did not hit Makhan. It was Makhan who did it. Phatik answered indignantly, no, I haven't. Who told you that? No, I haven't hit. Yeah, he's telling the truth. Don't tell lies, his mother shouted, you have. So mother believes everything that Makhan says. Phatik said suddenly, so now he's very angry with his mother. She is taking sides. A mother should be impartial. I tell you I haven't. You ask Makhan. But Makhan thought it best to stick to his previous statement. Makhan knows he is telling a lie, but he feels, no, let me stick to what I have said earlier. He said, yes, mother, Phatik did hit me. So he repeats what he had told earlier. But this is a lie. But how is the mother to know? She blindly accepts what Makhan tells her. Phatik's patience was already exhausted. He feels, I have got the scratchings and the beatings and the kickings from Makhan, and now mother is also believing him. So I have not beaten him, but since he says I have beaten him, I'll give him a nice beating. So what does he do? He could not bear this injustice. He rushed at Makhan and hammered him with blows. So, take that, he cried, and that and that and that for telling lies. You are a liar. You have told lies, and since you have told that I have beaten you, now take these. So he hammers him with blows. So now the mother feels that, oh, he's doing it in front of me. That means behind my back he must have really done it. His mother took Makhan's side in a moment and pulled Phatik away, beating him with her hands. So mother now beats Phatik. When Phatik pushed her aside, so he feels this is injustice. She is taking his side. So he pushes her. She shouted, what? You little villain, would you hit your own mother? So you dare to hit your own mother? How dare you push me? And at this moment, what happened? At this critical juncture, that the grey-haired stranger arrived. He asked what the matter was. Fatik looked sheepish and ashamed. Why? Because this man he had told, go and find out the Chakravarti's house. He didn't tell him. So he is looking sheepish. But when his mother stepped back and looked at the stranger, her anger was changed to surprise. So she doesn't feel angry anymore when she sees the stranger. Why? Because this is her brother. For she recognized her brother and cried, why, Dada? Where have you come from? So from where have you come? Dada, elder brother. This is a big story translated from Bengali. And in Bengali, elder brother is Dada. As she said these words, she bowed to the ground and touched his feet. The pranam, touching the feet. Her brother had gone away soon after she had married, and he had started his business in Bombay. So those times it was called Bombay. Now we say Mumbai. His sister had lost her husband while he was in Bombay. Bishambar, so the name of the uncle is Bishambar, had now come back to Calcutta and had at once made enquiries about his sister. So those were not the days of the mobile, so getting to know that his brother-in-law has died. When he comes to Kolkata and he asks about his sister, and he comes to know that she's become a widow. So he immediately comes to meet her. He had then hastened to see her as soon as he found out where she was. So he comes to meet his sister who has become a widow. So quite a long time, because Fatik is 14 years. So she must have been married at least 15 years. So all these years not in touch. And now he comes after shifting his business to Kolkata. The next few days were full of rejoicing, a happy time here in their home. Mama has come. The brother asked after the education of the two boys. So the brother asked, what are these boys doing? What are they studying? He was told by his sister that Fatik was a perpetual nuisance. He was a nuisance. And what are the attributes? He was lazy, disobedient and wild. But Makhan was as good as gold, as quiet as a lamb, and very fond of reading. So just see the partiality of the mother. Yeah, maybe she's sick or fed up of Fatik's mischiefs. So maybe all the villagers come and complain, see, Fatik has done this, Fatik has done that. So she has lost her patience. Whereas Makhan is not that type of mischievous boy. In the sense he must be studying, doing his studies and all that. But he is not a good person at heart. So, Bishambar kindly offered to take Fatik off his sister's hands. So, you leave Fatik to my hands, I will take him to Calcutta and see that he is educated properly. Educate him with his own children in Calcutta. The widowed mother readily agreed. Why? Because she feels, I don't have to take care of one, I'll have to take care of Makhan, and Fatik is a nuisance. So yes, it's nice to get rid of him. When his uncle asked Fatik if he would go to Calcutta with him, his joy knew no bounds. Oh, Calcutta must be a dreamland for him. So he immediately agrees. He feels very happy. He doesn't realize that east or west home is best. Oh yes, uncle, in a way that made it quite clear that he meant it, yeah. He agrees to accompanying his uncle to Calcutta. It was an immense relief to the mother to get rid of Fatik. She is quite relieved. I don't have to cope up with his mischiefs and the complaints from the villagers and the two boys fighting with each other. So at least, and Makhan is as good as gold and as quiet as a lamb. So no trouble, no problem. She had a prejudice against the boy. She was partial towards Makhan, and she had a prejudice, a preformed notion against the boy, and no love was lost between the two brothers. And the two brothers also did not have any love for each other. She was in daily fear that he would either drown Makhan some day in the river or break his head in a fight or run him into some danger or other. And mother was always worried about the fate of Makhan in Fatik's hands. He was a perpetual threat to Makhan. she felt. One day he might drown him, or he might break his head, or he might get this boy in some danger. At the same time, she was somewhat distressed to see Fatik's extreme eagerness to get away. Yeah, after all, she's a mother. So she is not very happy when Fatik also agrees. She is relieved, but she doesn't want that Fatik, but she is not happy that he immediately agrees, and he's so happy to leave her and go. Fatik, as soon as all was settled, kept asking his uncle every minute when they were to start. So he keeps on asking his uncle, Mama, when are we going to Calcutta? When are we leaving this place? He was on pins and needles all day long, so he was always excited, as if he was sitting on pins and needles, so pricking him. And lay awake most of the night, going to Calcutta, dreamland. He bequeathed to Makhan in perpetuity his fishing rod, his big kite and his marbles. He became so generous at the thought of leaving and going away from the village that all the things which he considered a treasure, he gave it to Makhan. Fishing rod, big kite and his marbles. Indeed, at this time of departure, his generosity towards Makhan was unbounded, limitless generosity. He gives all his prized possessions to Makhan. When they reached Calcutta, his happiness won't be for long. Fatik made acquaintance of his aunt for the first time. He sees his aunt for the first time. She was by no means pleased with the unnecessary addition to her family. She was not happy. I already have 3 sons, 3 children, and to think of my husband bringing in a 4th one. She found her own 3 boys quite enough to manage without taking on anyone else. Yeah, they are only so difficult to handle. And on top of it, another one. My husband has no sense. She must be feeling. And to bring a village lad of 14, and that also a village lad. We are city people. They had lived in Mumbai for some time and now they are back to Kolkata. So they are quite refined and cultured, and this village, Dehati. To be brought from the village here into their midst was terribly upsetting. Bishambar should really have thought twice before committing such an indiscretion. So he should have thought. See, those were not the days when they spoke openly or rudely to their husbands about the decision. He made the decision, but she showed her displeasure by treating Fatik rudely, unpleasantly. She didn't tell why did you bring him and all that. But she showed her displeasure in other ways. How? By treating him only unkindly. In this world of human affairs, yes, this paragraph is about general adolescence. There is no worse nuisance than a boy at the age of 14. Why? Why is this boy of 14 a nuisance? Not just Fatik, all the other boys. He is neither ornamental nor useful. It is impossible to shower affection on him as on a little boy. That means he doesn't fall in the kid category, boy, small boy category. When he's a small boy, you can love him, shower your affections on him. But at 14, he is not a kid. He is always getting in the way. If he talks with a childish lisp, he is called a baby. Yeah. If he talks in a childish manner, don't talk like this. Don't talk like a baby. It doesn't suit you. And if he answers in a grown-up way, and if he tries to talk in a grown-up way, oh, just see his audacity. He's trying to show himself up, show himself off, showing up. So what a rude fellow he is. If he tries to act adult, he is impertinent. If he tries to talk in a childish way, oh, don't act like a kid. So poor boy, he doesn't know where to fit in. In fact, any talk at all from him is resented. It is better that he keeps quiet. Why? His voice also at this age cracks. So it's better if he keeps quiet only. He doesn't talk at all. Not only he doesn't mean only Fatik. Boys of 14. Then he is at the unattractive growing age. He grows out of his clothes with indecent age. Yeah, this age, no, it's the growing age. So boys get tall. So his clothes also, they fit him. They don't fit him anymore. So his voice grows, yes, the voice cracks and breaks into quavers. His face suddenly grows angular and unsightly. So he doesn't look very nice at this age. And then the beards here and there, it starts coming up. They don't, boy of 14, 15, they really don't look well. It is easy to excuse the shortcomings of early childhood, but it is hard to tolerate even unavoidable lapses in a boy of 14. If a child does something, oh, he's a small boy, excuse him. But if the same thing is done by a boy of 14, because he cannot avoid it, he doesn't do it deliberately, but because he cannot avoid it, even if he does the same thing, you cannot forgive him for this lapse. The lad himself becomes painfully self-conscious. Yes, this young boy of 14 becomes very self-conscious. The beards, the facial hair, and then the voice cracking, gaining in height. So the changes which come physically and mentally are enough to make him self-conscious. When he talks with elderly people, he is either unduly forward or else unduly shy, that he appears ashamed of his very existence. So on the two extremes, either he comes and starts acting smart, unduly forward, or he feels ashamed so much that he as if is ashamed of his own existence only. He gets into a shell of his own. Yet it is at this very age when his heart of hearts, a young lad, craves for recognition and love. He wants to be appreciated. He wants to be loved. And he becomes the devoted slave of anyone who shows him consideration. If you show a little consideration towards him, he will be your slave. He will be ready to eat from your hands. But none dare openly love him, for that he would be regarded as an undue indulgence and therefore bad for the boy. But the family members, they don't show him that love. Why? Because they feel it will be an indulgence, spoiling the child. So what with scolding and chiding, he becomes very much like a stray dog that has lost his master. This is a very memorable line. So he gets the scolding, and yes, scoldings, chiding also means scolding only. How that he seems as if he doesn't like a dog, the stray dog. Stray dogs don't have any masters. So he looks like that. A boy of 14 looks like that. He is scolded for the smallest lapses. In the same way as a stray dog, a dog with a master, no one dares to do anything to that dog. But a stray dog, if you find him at fault, yes, you kick him, you beat him. Same with these. For a boy of 14, his own home is the only paradise. Yeah, his own home is his heaven. Paradise is heaven. To live in a strange house with strange people. This is his uncle's house whom he hardly knows. And the house is also strange. He has never come here before. Is little short of torture. Yeah, it is a type of torture. Where the height of bliss is to receive kind looks of women and never to be slighted by them. Height of happiness is if a woman looks at you kindly and he doesn't insult you. This is the highest happiness. But he doesn't get this happiness here. It was anguish to fatigue to be the unwelcome guest in his aunt's house. The house is his uncle's, but maybe the aunt is the decision taker and she runs the household. Imagine a boy comes with so much expectations and then he realizes only that he is not welcome here. How will he feel? Despised by this elderly woman, so she is his mama's wife, and slighted on every occasion, insulted at the smallest occasion she insults him. If she ever asked him to do anything for her, he would be so overjoyed that he would overdo it. And then she would tell him not to be so stupid and to get on with his lessons. So he would be waiting for her to ask him to do something. And when she said, Fatigue, do this for me, he would be so happy, aunt has given me this job. So he would, in his excitement, he would overdo it and then she would scold him. and then say, go back to your lessons. Without appreciating, instead of appreciating his effort, she would scold him. The cramped atmosphere of neglect in his aunt's house oppressed Fatik so much that he felt he could hardly breathe. It was suffocating, choking for him. He couldn't talk to anyone. His cousins, they did not consider him to be a part of the family, an outsider. He wanted to go out into the open country and fill his lungs and breathe freely. He is a boy of the village, used to the open spaces. And here in these houses, he feels the atmosphere suffocating. But there was no open country to go to. Surrounded on all sides by Calcutta houses and walls, he would dream night after night of his village. So the village home would haunt him, would come to his dreams again and again, and long to be back there. All the enthusiasm of coming to Kolkata has died. Now he wants to return to his home. He remembered the glorious meadow where he used to fly his kite all. Yeah, so he remembers the happy times he had in his village flying the kite. The broad river banks where he would wander about the livelong day singing and shouting for joy. How happy he was in his village. The narrow brook where he could go and dive and swim at any time he liked. He thought of his band of boy companions over whom he was despot. He was the dictator. He was the leader of his boy companions. He thought of them. I was the leader there, and here I am a neglected, isolated person. And there I was the center of attraction. And above all, the memory of that tyrant mother of his who had such a prejudice against him occupied him day and night. And not only that, the thought of his mother. The mother had been unjust to him. She had a preformed notion about him that whatever mischief is done by Fatik. But he thought of her day and night. He missed his mother. So it is a sweet sour relationship. It's not that he doesn't love his mother, neither for the mother also it's not that she doesn't love him. But between the two sons, since Fatik is always a problem creator, and Makhan, at least he gives the impression that he is an obedient son and he does his studies. So she feels more attached to him. But still, it doesn't mean that she doesn't love Fatik at all. But in comparison to Makhan, yes, she considers him a nuisance. But that doesn't mean that she has no love only for him. And he also the same. He is angry with his mother for taking sides. But he loves her. And now he realizes her importance when this woman, elderly woman, insults him, hates him. So when mother beats you, you don't feel bad. But when someone, an outsider, insults you, you feel really very hurt. And same with Fatik. A kind of physical love like that of animals, a longing to be in the presence of the one who is loved, an inexpressible wistfulness during absence, a silent cry of the inmost heart for the mother, like the lowing of a calf in the twilight. So how he loves his mother, the animal love, the kitten love for the mother, the puppy's love for the mother. He has this type of love. It is the bond of the umbilical cord. So in the absence of the mother, he yearns to get back to her. He cries for her. So this is an animal instinct. This love, which was almost an animal instinct, agitated the shy, nervous, lean, uncouth and ugly boy. No one could understand it, but it preyed upon his mind continually. So he feels homesick. He misses his mother. So he loved his mother and he wants to be close to her. There was no more backward boy in the school than Fatik. So Fatik is the worst boy. So you can't blame him. He comes from the village and the studies here and the study in the city is very different. And he was not a studious boy. He gaped and remained silent when the teacher asked him a question. So he doesn't know the answer. So he gaped. He opened his mouth and remained silent. and like an overladen ass, patiently suffering all the blows that came down on his back. So how has he been compared to an ass or a donkey with the load on his back? Because the master beats his back, keeps on giving him blows on his back, and he bears it like the patience of a donkey. When the other boys were out at play, he stood wistfully by the window and gazed at the roofs of the distant houses. So he looks longingly at the distant houses, and if by chance he spied children playing on the open terrace of any roof, his heart would ache with longing. But he had no friends. Who would make a country bumpkin their friend? He is a village boy. One day he summoned up all his courage and asked his uncle, "Uncle, when can I go home?" He wants to go back home. His uncle answered, "Wait till the holidays come." But the holidays would not come till November, and there was a long time still to wait. So November is far away. On top of this, what happened? He could not answer question with his books, and now he loses a book. One day Fatik lost his lesson book. Even with the help of the books, he found it very difficult indeed to prepare his lesson. Now it was impossible. So how could he prepare his lessons now? He had no book. With the book only he could not. And now the book is not there. Day after day the teacher would cane him unmercifully. Means in a merciless manner he would go and cane him. His condition became so abjectly miserable that even his cousins were ashamed to own him. So he became such a laughing lot of the object of insult of the other schoolboys that his cousins also they tried not to acknowledge him as their family member. They distanced themselves from him. They began to jeer and insult him more than the other boys. Rather, they joined the boys, and they were the ones who mocked him and made fun of him and insulted him the most. He went to his aunt at last and told her that he had lost his book. So he has to get a book from somewhere. So he goes and tells his aunt that I have lost my book. And his aunt pursed her lips in contempt. She does this. Angry with him, contempt, a type of low feeling, and said, "You great clumsy country lout." So you are a country rascal, country lout. How can I afford with all my family to buy you new books 5 times a month? This is exaggeration. This is the first time he has lost a book. But she is scolding him. I have my family to run. The expenses are so high, and then you keep on losing books every five times a month. That time, on his way back from school, Fatik had a bad headache with a fit of shivering. So when he's coming back from school, he feels feverish, fit of shivering and headache. He felt he was going to have an attack of malarial fever. His one great fear was that he would be a nuisance. Now if he falls sick in the house, so his aunt would consider him a further nuisance. So he leaves for his village home. The next morning Fatik was nowhere to be seen. All searches in the neighborhood proved futile. So uncle searches in the neighborhood. Where is Fatik? Where is Fatik? But it is in vain. He is not found. The rain had been pouring in torrents all night, and those who went out in search of the boy got drenched to the skin. Yes, it was raining, and the people who went, the search party, they got completely wet. At last Bishambar asked help from the police. So Bishambar goes to the police station and reports that my nephew is missing. At the end of the day, a police van stopped at the door before the house. It was still raining, and the streets were all flooded. 2 constables brought out Fatik in their arms and placed him before, so they have been able to find the child and bring him back to Bishambar, the police. He was wet through from head to foot, muddy all over, his face and eyes flushed with fever, and his limbs all trembling. Bishambar carried him in his arms and took him. So after all, Bishambar is his uncle, mother's brother. So he has feelings. It's not that he has no feelings. He has feelings. but he's unable to, he's afraid to show it in front of his wife. His wife must be a tyrant. So when his wife saw him, she exclaimed, "What a heap of trouble this boy has given us. Hadn't you better send him home?" So this is a troublesome fellow. Why don't you send him home? Fatik heard her words and sobbed out loud. So he cries out loudly, "Uncle, I was just going home, but they dragged me back again." So these police people, I was going home, but the police people, they dragged me and brought me here. I was going home. The fever rose very high. And all that night the boy was delirious. What does delirious mean? That means when there is high fever, you talk incoherently, meaningless words. So he was talking that. Bishambar brought in a doctor. Fatik opened his eyes, flushed with fever, eyes red, and looked up at the ceiling and said vacantly, "Uncle, have the holidays come yet? May I go home?" So he is in a delirious state. He is talking incoherently. Bishambar wiped the tears from his own eyes. This shows he has feelings. But he could not say anything when his wife insulted this boy. And actually he was alone. The three sons and the wife, they were one party. They were angry with him. They were unhappy with him for bringing this boy here. So that is why he remained indifferent. But now he is very sad that I brought this boy and added to his misery. I had wanted to make his life good, but it added to his misery only. And took Fatik's lean and burning hands in his own and sat by him through the night. Yeah, he keeps awake through the night because he is Fatik's blood relation. The boy again began to mutter. At last his voice became excited. "Mother," he cried, "don't beat me like that. Mother, I'm telling the truth." Remember that last episode with Makan? Mother was beating him for something he had not done. So these pent up feelings come up. The next day Fatik became conscious for a short time. He turned his eyes about the room as if expecting someone to come. Whom is he searching for? His mother. At last, with an air of disappointment, his head sunk on the pillow. He turned his face to the wall with a deep sigh of sorrow, regret. Deep sigh. Why? He's searching for his mother. Bishambar knew his thoughts. Bishambar knew who he was searching for. So he tells him, and bending down his head whispered, so he talks in a soft voice so that the others don't hear. "Fatik, I have sent for your mother." So yes, I have sent for your mother. I have sent someone to bring your mother here. The day passed. The day went by. That means the day passed. The doctor said in a troubled voice that the boy's condition was very critical. That means there is hardly chances of survival. Fatik began to cry out, "By the mark, 3 fathoms, by the mark, 4 fathoms, by the mark." That is what it happens. His house was in the village. His house was close to the river. So these are the sailors. This is what they would cry out. So he had heard it, and now in his unconscious or semi-conscious state, he is deliriously saying all these. He had heard the sailors say this, and now he's saying all these. He had heard the sailor on the river steamer calling out the mark on the plumb line. Now he was himself plumbing an unfathomable sea, the depth of which cannot be measured. So he was as if plumbing that. So this is a sign of his forthcoming death. Later in the day, Fatik's mother burst into the room like a whirlwind. So she had been told, "Your son is in a very critical condition." So she must be regretting her decision to allow her son to go. So I told you, it's not that she doesn't love him. So she comes rushing to her son. So the animal love, mother and son relationship, and began to toss from side to side and moan and cry in a loud voice. Bishambar tried to calm her agitation, but she flung herself on the bed and cried, "Fatik, my darling, my darling." So this is the translation. So like in Bengali, whatever they say. So she calls out to her son. She has come. Fatik stopped his restless movements for a moment. So Fatik had been restless. So it ceases. The restlessness ceases when he hears his mother's voice. His hand ceased beating up and down. He said, "Eh?" The mother cried again, "Fatik, my darling, my darling." Fatik very slowly turned his head and without seeing anybody said, "Mother, the holidays have come." So, mother, the holidays have come. That means, mother, why the holidays have come? Because he will be going home. But this home doesn't mean this village home. He is going back to that home from where he had come. This is the inner meaning. Outer meaning is that he's as if going back home, the holidays have come. But the holidays haven't come really. So, but he gets freed from the misery of this life and he is going home to his creator. That is the real home. He is going back to his real home. So Fatik eventually dies. That is his last words. So what is the theme of this story? So mainly it is about the adolescent and their sufferings when no one understands them. They don't, and the family members also, they don't shower affections on them. But he craves, these children, they crave for attention, a little bit of appreciation, a little bit of love. In their childhood, they had got so much love. And suddenly the family people, they become strict. No, this will be an undue indulgence. So their attitudes change. And the boy is unable to grasp it. And how they suffer. They just want a little bit of loving word, a little bit of appreciation, and which they don't get. And then their condition is like the stray dog which has lost its master. So they become the object of scolding and ridiculing. And they are unable to bear this torment. So here, so this is as if an eye-opener. How to treat your children at this difficult phase when they are witnessing or undergoing a mental and physical change. Be sympathetic towards them. Don't ridicule them. Don't make fun of them. Don't scold them unnecessarily. Because they need time to cope up with their growth. So, why does Tagore write this story? Is to open the eyes of the parents. And not only the parents, the teachers and the elders. See through the eyes of a child. Or how he feels. How sad they are at this age. And try to understand them better. I think he must have also suffered similar indignities at home because he had not gone to school. He had not gone to school. He was self-educated, means he was educated at home. He refused to go to school after. He had gone to school and the ruthless behavior of the teachers, and he did not agree to go to school anymore. So he was educated at home. So at one time his family people thought, what is this boy going to be? So they made fun of him. But then see what he became. Nobel Prize winner in literature. So most probably at the deep depth of his heart he has this feeling. He must have suffered the ridicules of his family members. It was a giant family. And that is why he has portrayed that so nicely in this story. So the story is in two parts. First part in the village and the second part in Calcutta. First part, Fatik, how do we see him? As a happy, carefree boy. And in the second part, we see him as a tormented, oppressed boy who feels he is suffocated. So it is in two parts. He seems like a caged bird. So the story comes to an end. So I think I have tried my best to explain to you as lucidly as possible. So comment and let me know how I have done my job. And yes, please subscribe to my channel if you haven't, and Have a nice day.